Welcome to another chapter of In the Keep podcast. I'm your very own prophet of the drowned god, the Motherlode. This show is all about the world of arena first-person shooters, classic FPS games, their legacies, their lineage, and the people who keep that world turning. These are the players, the developers, the streamers, the influencers. It is the will of the drowned god Cthalhamas that our communities band together in her cathedral to frag and gib one another into oblivion for all eternity. I hope you enjoyed your Thanksgiving holiday. It is time now for Cthalhamas, the most important holiday season of the year, which comes with a lot of things. We got, actual Cthalhamas, where we all celebrate, give each other gifts to praise the drowned god. It's an amazing time of year. Also, there's between now and then, there's International Arena FPS Day on December 21st. Shout out to Nabe. That's going to be fucking awesome. We'll probably try to do some sort of event in that time frame to celebrate the wonderful day, the birth of arena first-person shooters, the whole reason why we do this podcast. With that said, man, if you're going to be doing any shopping for Cthalhamas, which I expect you should be, you do it online, you use Amazon. Remember that we do have the Amazon affiliate link. You can find that on our website. Anything you buy there, it won't cost you anything extra, but it will go back into the community, that small percentage that we do get from those sales. Also, if you would like to go to inthekeep.com, which is where you'll also find that Amazon link, you can find all the tabs, the Amazon tab, the Patreon, PayPal, all that shit. You can also find our merch tab, where you can go to our Redbubble store. So consider doing that. What else do we have on the housekeeping list? We got, big thing, every Friday from now on, every Friday evening, if you're North American time, it's a bit skewed if you're European. We'll try to work with you, but point is, Friday nights, Warfork, Frag Fridays, in the Keep, be there, join the Discord to get all the details on exactly when they go down and what we'll be doing and everything, but it's a thing now, every Frag Friday, Warfork, be there, enjoy that. This episode, though, let's talk about it, is with Kristus, who developed the fucking wonderful and awesome new arena first-person shooter, and also features a single-player mode, Doombringer. And holy shit, man! Like I had mixed thoughts about this game when I first tried it. I was like, I don't know how I feel about it. Like I just felt like I kind of seen this before, but over time, I kind of saw the different streams coming in, Crazy Al doing stuff, and Jahar doing some stuff, and I was like, man, I'm an idiot. I really need to give this another shot, and I did, and I really enjoyed it, so I reached out to Kristus, and we got him on the show. We also, you can go on our YouTube and check out the 2 Maps of Madness videos that we did with him, where we kind of like go through the single-player maps, and then a couple of the multiplayer maps with him as he explains the game to us. I hope that you find those enjoyable and useful. But I had a great conversation with Kristus. I really, really enjoyed this one, and I hope that you get everything that you possibly can out of this conversation, because I certainly gained a lot personally. Before we get into it, I will mention the music that you're about to hear is by Igrax Simon. He is the bad motherfucker, always DJing it up for the Keep. I really enjoy it. A lot of the music that you've heard on this show thus far has been by Igrax Simon, so I just want to give him props and say that you can go check him out on YouTube. That's IGRACSIMON on YouTube. Check out all of his awesome music. And that's that, baby. Without any further ado, let's get in the Keep. Kristus.
So my name's Kristus Cal. I'm the developer of a small game called Doombringer, which is an Arena FPS and single-player Doom-inspired game as well, all baked into one, just like in the good old days. Currently, we're working on getting our first episode of the single-player campaign out, and we have a ways off yet, but getting closer to it.
I think, because anyone who's kind of following, we just did like 2 different streams. Hey, sister, in the background, she is here.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
we did play through the single player portion and the multiplayer portion of Doombringer, and both honestly very impressive for me thus far. The single player portion obviously doesn't depend on you going through all the trouble of getting client shit to work and ports shit to work, and we had some issues with that. But I do want to say again that you're well ahead of the curve, and I feel like you were a bit embarrassed, but well ahead of the curve even having that as an independent developer. We see a lot of independent games, or even like New Blood Interactive with Dusk not having client or server support for their game. It's just I get on, I have to set up my own local server in order to play Dusk with other people. So good on you for doing that ahead of time.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it is benefit of using an engine with a solid basic framework. So you get a lot for free there. And since it is the Quake, NetQuake engine, Dark Places, you also get a really robust, solid first-person shooter engine to play in, you know. We talked about how a lot of these games that have been developed, they don't generally use the most obvious engines. A lot of time, like Unreal or Unity or whatever else is popular right now. And there's usually someone asking, why did you pick this engine? And I think obvious from someone who's playing those games a lot, answer is because they are ostensibly better suited for it than these large sandbox engines.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I think that it's kind of basic math. Like the more complicated you make something, the more can go wrong with it. You know, it's like Murphy's Law. Anything that can go wrong will go wrong. So the less that there is to go wrong, it will be better generally for a player experience. That's why, in my opinion, still to this day, Quake World is the cleanest user experience. I mean, there could be better HUD options. There could be better just general settings options. Anything like that. You know, Easy Quake has some messy issues, but in general, like the actual player experience, so smooth. Never played a game that was more perfectly smooth than that. Doom, and certain source ports also could to take the same title.
Yeah, I mean, Easy Quake is probably to be a bit critical, one of the worst cases of messy configs. So yeah, that's, I mean, you have a lot of options, of course, but the way just editing the config manually is like hundreds and hundreds of lines of commands there and the scripts and stuff. It's just way too much. I don't think it's helpful. I try to keep everything clean and simple. So with the HUD configs, for instance, you can set up the HUD for as you want it, pretty much. But I try to keep it as simple as possible because I think people will use it a lot more if it is simple. And if they want to make their own scripts, of course they can do that. But I don't think it's a good place to start, you know.
Well, on that note with Doombringer, something that I've taken a lot of note in and have really appreciated thus far with my experience in it is that right out of the box when you boot up the game, you have the ability to just kind of start off with like a really old school, like very retro, 800 by 600. Sister having a beer? Hell yeah. Me too.
Oh, it was a Coke.
Whatever. I just that sound is so important on this podcast but the fact that you can have that really retro like 1998 experience with Doombringer is incredible, but also you have the immediate option right out of the box to just go straight to like uncap your frame rate, go right to like 144 or whatever you prefer. You have the 16:9 resolutions. I personally set it straight to 1080p, which felt really good. And then you also have like you've really thought of every option. I feel like there's not a whole lot that I think people are going to want out of a game like this that you haven't already put into the game itself. Can you talk a little bit about where that came from?
Depends on what you mean, really. I mean, for instance, I try to make adjustments available for every setup. So, for instance, I just got a ultra widescreen monitor, and then I realized, oops, I need to actually make the game work with this resolution as well. So I meant I had to redo a few things, but I want to give the player the option to play the game the way they want to.
Right.
So everything I can make customizable, I try to make customizable.
With the modern dev, right? The modern AAA dev, just kind of assumes everybody's on like a 16:9 or wider screen monitor, and is playing at above 120 hertz. For a first-person shooter, or if it's on a console, even then, just cap everything at 60. Like, you have a lot of options here, and you've provided basically everything in between. Even if that's through trial and error, you've done it.
I think part of it comes from my history as a part of the Doom community, where you have so many options. You have the source port that you want to have. You have everything from Chocolate Doom that is aimed to be an as exact replica of the Doom engine or the Doom game as possible, and then you have on the other end you have something like Vavoom that is more Quake almost than Doom, or GZ Doom, which is its own thing as well, or what's it called, J Doom. You have all this fan of options where you can basically pick the engine that best suits you. Everything Boom, Eternity, etc. And I think trying to appeal, I think that's a good way to appeal to more people, is to give them the option to do what they want with the game.
Certainly.
Rather than tell them this is the way the game should be played, or this is the way the game should look, or whatever.
Inevitably, we're going to end up with people trying to play your game on a CRT monitor. Like, it's going to happen. That's just kind of how Dusk, even with the same way, like that. Immediately, I just started seeing all these people like, look what I did. Like, I have this crazy old school setup. Like, for some reason, nostalgia sells today, which is good for this podcast and for people like you who are making games that, on one hand, are totally cool and modern, and on the other hand, kind of harken back to a day of purity, in my opinion, and more. I was going to use the word nuance, but I'd rather say preferable first-person player experience, and that's really important.
Yeah, if you if you look at the 80s, or not 80s, 90s, and how different the FPS games were from each other back then. You had everything from System Shock to Redneck Rampage, coming out. And something could be very campy or just hilarious. Another game was very complicated, almost more puzzle solving than actual FPS, but it was this spread of different games, and now most of the games that are FPS games are either like Bioshock inspired games, or in the other case, which is the most of them, I'd say the modern military shooters.
Right. Call of Duty, Medal of Honor.
Yeah.
All of which technically are based on the Quake engine. Like,
Yeah.
if you want to really get down to it, it's.
Yeah, so is Half-Life.
Yeah, Retro Ahoy, if you watch the Quake documentary on Retro Ahoy, he actually takes a whole part of that documentary to walk through all the modern games that are kind of based on the original Quake kind of source code, even or up to Quake 3. And it's incredible, like Medal of Honor, Half-Life, everything Valve, Portal, Counter-Strike, everything that's based on the Half-Life Gold Source engine. Like everything kind of stems from the same branch here. And you're using a community version of the Quake 1 engine to kind of create your game, which is fucking fantastic, in my opinion. I think you couldn't have picked a better engine. Look at Wrath, currently blowing up on the Steam charts. Same situation. So obviously you're making some good choices here. It's just a matter of getting this game in front of people, which we will do eventually. I promise.
Eventually. Once it's in a state where it don't take more than a half an hour. It takes a little more than half an hour to finish the maps. Because we did play, but it took us about a half an hour to go through the maps that are available. Yeah.
Not for you. Like what, a minute and a half for you?
Well, the third one is gonna take a bit more time. I think, but because that one is a bit more sprawling than the others. Also, it's a bit more difficult. Well, I actually made it simpler now than it used to be. It used to be really difficult, but if you go for pistol start map games, it will be a bit more of a challenge as well. Or if you go for the highest difficulty, and it's probably going to be close to impossible. When the monsters keep respawning.
So let's take a step back here, kind of walk back through your journey into this. So you're a Doom guy. You started off playing Doom at what point?
The first time I saw Doom was sometime in 1994 on the school computer.
Okay.
So after that, I was pretty much hooked. It was like I had never seen anything like it. I remember getting quite confused by how they did this. The magic that happened on the screen in front of me. I remember even thinking the only experience I really had with textured 3D was from full motion videos before. So I was under the influence that was the only way to do this. And then I've seen games like Alone in the Dark and stuff like that. And so for some reason, my stupid 13-year-old brain or 14-year-old brain thought they've drawn everything was a single picture,
Right.
So I got the I realized shortly after that was quite stupid, but so I thought it was like a full pre-rendered everything. You just moved around and they had a picture for everything. So even today that wouldn't be possible, of course.
Even less so today. Like then that could be feasibly more possible than today with like the crazy graphics and everything. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, don't say that with good Stadia. Everything is pre-rendered now. Sending a stream. So, but then I learned about that there were level editors for Doom, which was fantastic because I wanted to make games ever since I played Castlevania on the NES. So after a while, me and my friend managed to get hold of an editor, and since then it's pretty much been my main hobby to make games. Had a while in my 20s when I tried to make it into the industry to work on for a proper company and stuff like that. But eventually I realized that was probably not what I wanted with my life anyway, because I learned more about working on games as a profession was probably going to be more soul draining than anything.
Yeah.
So I went back to making my Doom mods, Heretic, and I worked on Hexen mod. And then I got a friend who asked me about if I wanted to make a game with him, and then I started making the game, and then he bailed out on me, and then I started working on Doombringer, and eventually I got the guy who made the Edge Doom mod, Doom port, also made Oblige, which is a auto-generating Doom level editor. So it's an AI-controlled Doom level creation kit. He approached me about programming for Doombringer. So he basically laid the foundation for the source in Doombringer. Which once he left, I took over and learned programming as well. So it's been quite a journey. The game started like bits and pieces, just sketching ideas in like 2013, and in 2015 was when Andrew joined, and he did a lot of work for about a year, and then he said, "I'm had enough now."
Okay, so I started this tangent saying let's take a step back, and then we did, and then we've worked our way back forward. But I want to take another step back because it's something you said you've wanted to make games ever since you first played Castlevania on the NES. Castlevania, that was the game that inspired you to make games?
Yeah, when I first played it, I went home and started drawing up ideas for my own game, basically inspired by Castlevania. And this was in the 80s, of course. So I had no computer. I had no NES even. I didn't have anything of that sort. So I started drawing worlds on paper I can't be more than 7 or 8, maybe 10. And eventually I started making board games instead and do with what you have, I'm not going to say they were great. They were mostly knockoffs of existing board games.
Right.
But I tried to make something inspired by Castlevania, at least. So I made this sort of dungeon-esque game where you move down through a dungeon, and you had to make it through certain hazards. I'm not sure it was a dice rolling game, basically. So you moved forward the steps of the die.
Right.
And
Candyland.
I can't remember if I had much in. I can't remember the traps, if there were much of them. But I remember I had a boss fight at the end where you were supposed to avoid shots from the boss by throwing die, and if you had a good roll, you avoided the shot. If you had a bad one, you got hit, stuff like that.
So I was born a little later than you. I missed the Castlevania run, but I did get into like Super Metroid, that kind of thing. So I really do have a pre-existing appreciation for that genre. For instance, today I was playing Valfaris, which is a kind of new addition to that genre. There's Dead Cell, there's lots of games like that now.
Yeah.
For some reason, that's come back.
I really like Dead Cells.
Yeah.
I played that quite aggressively for a couple of weeks. Feels really good.
You moved on to, you said you made some mods for Heretic and Hexen?
Oh yeah, that was I started actually, so after I gave up on my plans to become a level designer or a designer in the game industry. This was in the late 2000s. So it would be in 9 or something. Well, because I had been working on this mod for Doom 3 called Doom 3 Phobos. They actually had their first release about a year ago. And in the end, I was so fed up with... Because they were really professional, you know. They were like, we're going to do this and this and this, and everything has to look pristine. It has to be perfect. Can't just get things done, you know. Which was... It just became worse and worse the further I worked on it. Because nothing became fun to make anymore. Because it was like everything had to be scrutinized and... just an endless treadmill, basically. And I realized that this is probably what it's going to be like working on a game for a company as well.
Yeah.
And so I went back to making a Heretic expansion called Curse of the Sparrow that garnered some appreciation. People thought it was the de facto Heretic WAD to play for a lot of people. And then I was working on an expansion or other follow-up to that for Hexen, since that felt like the natural step to do. I had done something with Heretic, and then I was going to do something with Hexen, but I never really finished that because Doombringer came in and basically swallowed up all the time I had to do with that wasn't spent at work.
Gotcha.
So after a few years of the Hexen mod just laying on my hard drive, I basically just released what was there in case someone wanted to do something with it. But so far, no one has picked up the torch to finish it. So,
all right. So let's get back. Go ahead.
Maybe I'll get back to it eventually.
Let's get back into the meat of the conversation here. So, Doombringer, you've been doing ever since. What inspired you to make Doombringer in the first place? What was your vision starting off?
Yeah, that's a good question, really, because I'm not sure if I had a vision as much as I had an urge. I was kind of fed up with the Doom engine because it's not actually a 3D engine, it's a 2.5D engine, it's called. You make a map in 2D space, and then that is interpolated by the engine to make it look kind of 3D, but it's not really 3D, so a lot of circumventions has to be made to do certain aspects of it. Of course, when you move to 3D, you get other things you have to take into consideration, etc. So there is a trade-off in both cases. But I had an idea to make an Arena, or rather a Doom-style game that was pretty much off balls to the wall action, super duper over-aggressive. Now, as an idea, that might sound fun for a while, but after a while, you kind of, I don't want to have metal blaring in my ears all the time, maybe. A lot of the time, sure, fine. But gotta break it off with, highs and lows. So it calmed down a bit, but it's still a pretty aggressive game. So I guess once you get into the groove of it, it's a more aggressive game than Doom, I feel, at least. So
yeah, I mean, for sure, definitely
not quite the jackhammer of endless metal that I first imagined.
First impressions wise, just speaking from an outside point of view, Doombringer to me takes the super shotgun of Doom and puts it in Quake 3, and then takes away the plasma gun and gives you the machine gun, and takes away the machine gun of Quake 2. and then takes away the machine gun that you get in Quake 3 as the starter weapon and gives you kind of a similar weapon, like the pistol in your case, but similar to the blaster of Quake 2. I think I said that to you earlier on Maps of Madness, but that's kind of how I see Doombringer working. It feels very much to me like Quake 3. Obviously with you explained it very well earlier, like kind of different movement, a little bit separated from Quake Live and Quake 3.
That was also an idea I had for it. I mean, sometimes these things just kind of mush together in my brain after a few years, you know. So one of the more clear ideas I had for a game, this was before I even had, I think this was back when I was playing Quake Live quite a lot in 2010 perhaps, even before I had an idea of how to go about making a game like this, because I felt like I didn't have the requisite skills to make a game without someone actually doing all the programming.
Right.
But the idea I had was to make a single-player Quake Live. Because I quite liked a lot of things about Quake Live, but sometimes I just wanted to have some fun with Quake Live and not go be so competitive as you kind of have to be to really enjoy Quake Live, I felt. You know, so I wanted something that had these elements of Quake Live, like the lighting gun, which you can pin your enemies with. But I wanted the single player aspect of it. So from that perspective, I guess, from what you said, I kind of succeeded.
Well, with that exactly what you just said there, have you played Quake Champions Doom Edition?
Seen it played.
Okay. I don't know if
I know what
you don't have to be a fan of the podcast or anything, but if you do go back and listen to the DB Thanatos and Michaelis episode of this show,
I did listen to
same thing
to that podcast. He talked about how they actually got the blessing from Bethesda or from id.
Yeah, kind of, yeah. But
kind of.
I mean, they had to change the name of the game and everything. But what you're saying is not just isolated to you. Is kind of what I'm trying to get at. It's like a lot of people feel that the Quake 3, Quake Live, Quake Champions even experience the multiplayer only Quake experience. People have seen that. They're like, why can't I do this by myself? Like, why not have a single player version? And you've done that. You've really done that. I just played through 3 excellent, really fun maps in your game that I felt like, why haven't I been doing this all my life? So kudos to you, man.
And those are just a bit first maps.
Correct.
I'm looking forward to this coming down the line when you can really go turn up the heat with like in Doom you always start with these calm maps, and then you come with arch vials and pain elementals and revenants, everything coming at you at once, and you have all these weapons, BFGs and rocket launchers.
If I could go a step further down that line, I think that what you've done with Doombringer and what we're seeing kind of enveloped with this game, I think that I don't remember what you were on. It was some stream that I was watching, but you were explaining how you had originally kind of thought of this as a single player game, and then decided to focus on the multiplayer for some reason.
Yeah, so the first engine I was making it for was actually the Rack engine.
Right.
That's where I started.
That's what it was.
And Rack didn't have any multiplayer, but I didn't see that as a problem at the time. And well, I did. It was a slight problem. I wanted it to have co-op as well, but I was like, yeah, the Rack engine has good editing tools, has options, but for different reasons, I decided to move away from it because I wanted to do things that it still wasn't ready to do, and so I tried different engines. But yeah, I had an idea that if I'm gonna make a game, I don't want to sit with half a game 3 years down the line and not want to finish it. I want to have at least something that I can say, okay, this is a game. It's not the final game, maybe, but it's a playable state. Like, it's a complete game for what it is. So I figured if I make since the engine I chose now had multiplayer, I could always make a small multiplayer game, and that game could be, if I decided that, okay, I don't want to do this anymore, then I could just say, okay, this is a game. If someone wants to take it further, they can do that. If not, then this is the game, and probably no one was going to play it anyway. But then at least I had done that. I would have felt like I had completed something, So then I would only have to make a couple of maps. I would only have to make a set of weapons, etc. And once I had that, I would be able to go through with a single player and still not have wasted all that effort on something that I couldn't use, because everything I had down there would be able to be used in the single player as well.
So in regards to Rack, did you have like a relationship with Carney at all?
Yeah, we talked a bit, and the idea was that he was going to support me with stuff for like if I had something that I wanted added. But it didn't really pan out like that, and I can completely understand why, because it's one thing to want to help someone with something, but when you're making your own game at the same time, I have a better appreciation for it now than I had back then, but it's a tall order to accommodate someone else at the same time.
Yeah. Well, talking about Carney, somebody that I truly respect. I've had him on the show before. I really love everything he's done. Truly. One of the big things that I told him about Rack Exaverse before it came out, like let's put this on the record. I told him before Rack Exaverse came out, I was like, is there going to be a co-op version of this game? Because like we're talking about a tower defense FPS, roguelike game. Like this screams co-op, this screams multiplayer. Yeah. And there was none. And the game ultimately kind of failed, resulted in the end of their company, Big Boss Entertainment kind of came to an end at that point. And it disappointed the fuck out of me, because like I thought the bones of the game were excellent. The bones of Rack have everything they need to be successful. It's just like, what happened, Carney? Like, I don't know. So yeah, you were already on that train.
Yeah, I felt like that was something that was really missing from. And I mean, it's not something you just throw in as a small developer, of course. But
right.
The same was for Rack 1. Had it had co-op, I would have played the shit out of it with friends. I love co-op as a game mode. I played it more than I played most other things, to be honest. Except maybe Quake Live.
It's the most fun way to test a Doom mod, right?
Yeah,
do it in co-op.
I played a lot of co-op in Doom. I've made every mod I made sure that it has support for co-op in one way or another. So yeah, I think it's a shame that it doesn't get more attention, or when it gets attention, it kind of gets like an afterthought in many cases. Like Rage had like 6 co-op maps instead of a proper co-op campaign. I bought games simply because they had co-op, for instance.
What about Youngblood? Like Wolfenstein Youngblood was a whole game just dedicated to co-op, and then it.
Yeah,
same.
I bought that one. I played it in co-op. It wasn't great or anything, but it gave me a chance to get in contact with an old friend at least.
Yeah,
so
that's what it's about, right?
Yeah. So we had some fun and playing co-op together, and we talked about we should do this more, and looking for another game to play now.
It's how you should play Bloodborne. That's how I played Bloodborne all the way through co-op with a buddy because there's no way I could beat that game by myself. Like I had no temperament to beat such a difficult game, but it makes it better. Like it really does make that experience better. It could be you could publish a shitty game with co-op and somebody's going to play it with their friend and it's going to be a positive memory for them. In your case, you have an excellent game that if you put co-op in it, it'll just be better. So
well, there is co-op in it already.
Mm-hmm. So, we should do that too on stream.
Yeah, we could try that actually. But then I'm gonna have to set up a server first for it.
Yeah, not me. I was fucking retard. Didn't know what I was doing.
Because otherwise, we can. I can get back to you on that another.
Yeah,
we can do that.
So Doombringer.
So yeah, I actually added a few a few HUD elements just for the sake of co-op, and so you can see how much health your friend has and what weapon they have and stuff like that. Make things easier to communicate. Eventually, I would like to have like in Doom, where you have a spy cam.
Yeah.
You press a key and you can see where the other one is. And that would be nice to incorporate as well, but I haven't figured out. It should be fine, fairly easy, considering I already have spectating in, So,
I'm not sure if Jahar mentioned this, but in PvP, that's an excellent spectator tool to have as well. Like if you're doing, especially if you're doing shoutcasting, like to have both players on the same screen and kind of switch back and forth, but there's still the other player's screen there is really, really, really helpful.
Yeah.
And item timings and all that shit.
Screen is gonna be a bit more complicated, of course, but I'm pretty sure it's possible.
Mm-hmm. It's totally possible. It's just a matter of doing.
Yeah. I mean, like CPMA has added this really slick. You can watch as many people as are on the server, I think, at the same time.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool stuff. Should be in every game.
Let's talk about you a little more too as we go. Finish your thought though. Finish your thought.
I remember when they added the split screen in the Doom engine for it was Doom Legacy who did it first. You could see that it was not as simple as just telling the game to have two screens, presto, done, because it was a lot of work to get it to they had to basically, in this case, they had to basically write the same thing but twice. You could see that because HUD elements and stuff like that had to be re-entered. In the way they did it, of course. I'm pretty sure it's more with Portal engines, more efficient ways to do it.
Yeah.
So the Quake engine, of course, is better suited for stuff like that. Especially, the Doom 3 engine, which is the Portal engine.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, it's cool. You're nerding out on me.
Making any sense?
It's not that you're not making sense. I'm sure you're making sense to someone who knows what you're talking about. I am, as I told you earlier, I have no computer science background whatsoever. This is just me as a curious member of the audience, trying to make sense of what I'm playing and enjoying it. So that's what it really comes down to. I know what I like. I don't know anything about what goes into it. So I'm learning that from you and other people like you.
Yeah, I'm learning all the time as well. I'm by no means an expert yet, really. Just an enthusiast.
Yeah, same thing. Just let years before you on the spectrum of getting into it. So, I do have to bring up the fact, and I'm sure listeners will have wondered why I haven't already brought it up. You're Swedish.
Yes.
What the fuck is up with these Swedes in first-person shooters? Like, why are you guys so good at this shit? It's ridiculous.
I think it's Scandinavians in general, actually.
Yeah, all of you motherfuckers. All Scandinavians. It's ridiculous. Like, you, Locktar, BPS, Milton, all been on the podcast, all from Scandinavia, all ridiculously into these, like, Doom, Quake.
Yeah.
Here you are.
We were at LAN. We were at LAN the other week.
You know those guys?
TimConLAN. I'm not. What?
TimCon?
Yeah.
I followed them on Twitter. I don't know what the fuck it is. Tell me more about it.
Okay, so TimConLAN is a LAN that the guys who had Arena FPS, the news, that podcast, started at the home of Tim Elson, which is one of the guys. And hence it's called TimConLAN. So it was first just Tim, that's Neeple, Galandrar, Marso, Crazy Al, GMT, and Qualks. That was the first one. The second one I joined as well. So I packed my monitor in my luggage and hauled ass over to England and met the guys there. And after that, they decided to expand the thing and have it at a, what's it called, internet cafe over in Liverpool, where we've been for, which was it? Was it 7 this time? Or was it 8?
Many years.
Count.
Yeah.
So it was like 6 events at this same place. 6 or 7 events. No, 6 or something like that. 5 or 6. And then they decided to move away from there because they stopped liking the guy who owned the internet cafe. He had a bunch of stuff that they didn't agree with. So they didn't want to support him anymore. And then we found this, well, not we, they, Al and Worst Vessel, found this cafe in Holland that we went to, and we were there the other weekend. So I think that might be the new place for TimConLAN going forward. Was really cool place. Everyone had a really easy time getting there, and they had a bar, so everyone could drink beer.
I've I got a follow from TimConLAN or whatever, something like that, like a long time ago on Twitter, and I was like, "What the fuck is this? What is this?" And then it's so cool that you're bringing that full circle for me. So, with that said, anybody from that organization or Tim himself or whatever invited on the podcast, please. I would love to talk to them about the history of that.
That would be Crazy Al that you want to talk to them.
Well, then tell Crazy Al I want to talk to him.
He's the leader.
Crazy Al's a weird fucking guy. I'm going to be honest with you, dude. Crazy Al he's crazy and he's Al. 100%, dude. I remember, I'll be honest about it. Go ahead.
I don't think he'd argue with you.
No.
I mean, he chose his name after all.
Well, a while back, I wrote a really shitty article about Reflex. This is when QuakeFans.net, website that I kind of write for, was first getting started, and I was honestly a novice. I had no idea what I was talking about. And I was trying to get into different arena games, different arena shooters. I really didn't know what I was talking about. And I wanted to write an article about Reflex because I thought Reflex was super cool. Like, this is a really cool game, but I honestly, I had the minimal amount of experience in the game that you could possibly have. Mm-hmm. And so I wrote an article, and then I posted it. It was dumb as fuck. It was really bad. And I put it on his Discord, AFPS Discord, and Crazy Al wrote me back immediately, and he was like, "This is fucking bullshit." Like, he was so mean. He was so unbelievably. I've never had anyone be that mean. Like, just honest to goodness mean to me in my life. Like, this is fucking bullshit. Take it down right now. You're an asshole. And then I PM'd him afterwards, and I was like, hey man, I I'm not taking any of that shit personally. I just want you to know that, like, I'm sorry, and I would like to get it right in the future if I do this, if I'm kind of doing this kind of thing. And I really do want to honestly, like, represent you and the arena shooter community well if I'm going to do this. And he was like, thanks for not being a fucking bitch. Like, that was...
Yeah, that's actually quite impressive that you could be a bigger person in a situation like
that. Man, I don't take any of that shit personally. I've been through far worse. I'm just saying, like, Crazy Al, he's a good guy, man. He's been really good to me. Yeah. He's hosted streams and everything, but
he managed to get himself into trouble with people with that. Because he can be quite aggressive. So. But he's always been nice to me.
You can't go around being like, on one hand, I 100% like, you can't go around being mean to people like that. Like, Crazy Al, be nice, fucker. But on the other hand, like, you can't take everything personally, especially not online, because people are just fucking fools. Like, people act like dickwads, and that's just the way it is, and there's no getting around it. So
yeah, it's very easy to be aggressive to someone or like tell them to go fuck themselves when you're not standing right in front of them.
Yeah,
when you're just writing it.
No, then I don't take that shit personally. Crazy Al, I love you, but like, be nice to other people who are softer than me.
Yeah, but I mean, TimConLAN is it's a pretty cool place to be. If you like Arena FPS games, definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, they have Gaia come in every time now. And Draku was there. No, Dansk, I mean.
Draku? Wasn't there? Was he there or not?
Was it Dansk or was it Draku?
It's a big difference.
All these names blend together.
It's all good, man.
Yeah. Gotta check. I am really bad at names, so
it's perfectly fine.
About this here, is there any? Oh, Jesus Christ! Wait. Let's see. Oh yeah, it was TimConLAN 8 this time. Yeah.
Okay.
So they've been going at it for about 4 years because there's twice every year, which is it's almost like DreamHack at this point. There we go. Yeah.
We'll find out eventually, folks.
Yeah, it was Dansk. I figured it was Dansk.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's that what Dansk was there. He's from Finland, so obviously. Then we had Owl was there. He's a lot of Norwegians and Finnish guys. Also Prometheus, who's making maps for Diabotical, was there. So it was.
And Draku is testing for Diabotical because he's a speedrunner. They're having him like test all the maps and everything. He was on Quakecast. Good. Dumb Truck's one of my good friends. Quakecast. They do a lot of coverage about that. They did a whole episode with Draku talking about Diabotical and how he was testing all the maps and everything, which is another really exciting, if it ever comes out, first-person shooter. But like in your case, to tie it all back into Doombringer, Doombringer's already out. Please go get it. Like, it's free. Like, play it.
Yeah.
Can we talk about a little bit?
We'll have single player.
No, go ahead. You talk. You talk.
And the next version will have single player.
Which yes. And I'm sorry, let me take a minute to laugh.
Yeah.
You mentioned earlier, like, kind of your model for when you do roll out the proper Doombringer for everyone to buy. What's your sales model? Because I thought that was really interesting, and I want you to kind of like talk about that, if you will.
Yeah, so I don't know if people remember how Doom was rolled out, but I had a plan for a similar method where you basically have a free game, and then people can buy what's essentially an expansion to that game. So you get the game for free, and then if you want to play more, you can buy so after playing the first episode, you can buy the 2 following episodes or whatever it becomes for a set sum of money. And to be honest, I'm not doing it to make money for myself, but I do it so I can pay anyone who helped making the game. Give them what I think they deserve, because these guys who, like Matthew and Primeval, they put a lot of work into their part of the game, and I think it would be nice to be able to give them what they're worth, you know.
What if I did that with the podcast, right? Like, here's a third of the podcast. Pay me $1 and you get the whole.
Yeah.
It'd be fucking ridiculous.
Want to see how it ends?
No, I think podcasts should be free, but yeah, you're barking at the right tree, and I think that's 100% the best way to market a game, is to like give people a taste of what it feels like to play the game. Not the PS1 fucking demo, although that was fun, but like truly, like, here's the first couple 3-4 levels of the game, and then if you want the rest of it, pay for it. Makes sense to me.
And you will be able to, just like with Quake or Doom, play that episode and then feel like, okay, this was cool, this is fine, I'm full on this, you know.
Yeah.
Because it will be a complete start and middle and finish. Now, if you want more to see where it goes, you know, so don't just, oh yeah, you got half a map to play with. Oh yeah, that didn't feel very exhilarating.
Yeah.
You know. So, and I also want to try to get people to make maps for it, you know. So it's not important for me to. Also, that's now I'm starting to jump around a bit, but this also means that the multiplayer will always be free.
Yeah.
So anyone who wants to just come and play with multiplayer, you know, it will always be available to them. They don't have to buy into that. Now, the multiplayer has been calming down significantly the last couple of years, but that's why I'm really focusing on the single player now, because I think that's where people are going to find most. We're going to find most traction with people.
Right. I think that a single player campaign will be the best way for you to reach an audience, first and foremost, make a profit, and then you can turn that around and put that back into your multiplayer kind of deal. Here, where people have a basis and like, okay, I've played through the single player, I would like to get into the multiplayer scene. Maybe they do, maybe they don't, but the point is that you will get more attention making a first-person shooter, single-player, old-school game right now in this market. That seems like the way to go.
Yeah. I feel a bit stressed, really, because after all these last couple of years, there's been a bit of a resurgence of these games in general. I mean, we have all this Dusk and Medieval and Iron Fury and Wrath, and I'm probably forgetting something now, but
Rack, Exaverse. I mean, I could go on forever. Like, yeah.
Yeah, before, we had Rack, and then we had Rise of the Triad before that as well.
Mhm.
I guess I don't think that was before.
Blood Fresh Supply.
To a lesser, Blood came back with a prop. I'm not gonna say there was a lot of Bloodites that did not appreciate that version as much. But I didn't play Blood that much back in the day because my computer had problems running it. So I was on a 486 and I had to turn off the sound to not get frame drops in Blood. So I'm no expert on Blood, even if I did enjoy the atmosphere and the world of Blood. It was pretty zany. Yeah, but anyway, all these games are coming out now, and so it's a shared market. But at the same time, all the people who like Dusk, for instance, they're probably gonna be interested in more games like that. Because I bought every one that come out just to check them out, if nothing else. So I'm not sure if it's better or worse for a game to be surrounded by other games like this. Dusk's probably being so early and probably benefited a lot from not having too much competition at the time. And but all of them are quite different at the same time, as they are of a similar coming from a similar place,
Okay. I trust you, like 100%. I agree with you. Like, they all come from the same place of people want to play this type of game, obviously, or else it wouldn't be such a huge market demand for it. The question is, what exactly do they want? And it's who's going to nail it. Dusk nailed it with the single player, has yet to do so with the multiplayer. You're arguably have already nailed it with the multiplayer, have gone even further than Dusk in doing it with, you already have server support. It's just a matter of, if you can make that server support work dependably, Doombringer is already fucking fantastic as a multiplayer game. And also, you're venturing into the single player market of it as well. So if you can bring all that together, if you really can pull it off, dude, Doombringer is right on top. Like, there's really not a lot to argue with what you've done with Doombringer. I think it's fucking fantastic. I wouldn't have invited you on the show if I didn't really like it. And at first, honestly, I had my doubts. I was like, man, another one of these fucking like I got in it, I strafe jumped around a little bit, like I didn't get it, and I was like, and then I was like, you know what? I'm gonna do it again. And that's when I messaged you. Like I did it again. I played it again. And I was like, I like it. I was being a dick before. I was in a bad mood. I didn't have enough beer. Whatever. I'm trying to quit smoking. I didn't have a cigarette that day. Something like that. I came back and I really liked it. Truly. And I wouldn't have you on if I didn't like it.
Yeah. I think a lot of people had the same reaction as your first there.
Yeah.
Because I've come into contact with it quite a few times. Like someone asking, well, what is the difference between this and Quake Live? Or what is the difference between this and CPMA? Or whatever they come from,
Yeah.
And the straight answer is, of course, there's small differences that have a large impact because, it's a similar game. No one's going to deny that. But the way it's being played out, like CPMA and Quake Live, they play vastly different, even though they have a lot of the same assets and stuff like that. But the mechanics of them are so different that they completely. It's not like the same people wouldn't play the same game generally.
Correct.
Enjoy. So while Doombringer is, I think, a bit more laissez-faire in its gameplay than either Quake Live or CPMA. It's more I tried at least to make it more about having fun.
Well, with that all that said, man, we're about an hour.
And I'm not saying Quake Live and CPMA isn't fun, of course, but
no, of course, but
I'd say they are highly competitive first and foremost, and I think that's the target of them as well.
I think that Doombringer has the potential to go both ways. I think it has the potential to become one of those highly competitive games. It also has the potential to be a cool, casual, single-player game that anyone could enjoy. And you've really gone out of your way, man. Like, more so than any member of the just casual community that I can think of to kind of try to, like, provide that to people. So first of all, you deserve a pat on the back. Second of all,
thank you.
We're an hour in, so you also deserve the opportunity to say any final words you have to say. Like, what do you intend for the audience to get out of this? What do you want them to know right now, and where are you going in the future?
Well, final words. I would like to thank you for inviting me on your channel.
No problem.
What is coming in the future? Yeah, maybe don't sound so exciting, but generally I want to finish this. Not finish, because I probably gonna have additions to make to it later, but make a playable episode from start to finish. For a release for people to play with and to get some competitions going, for level design and speed running and stuff like that, because I really love speed running as a concept. I'm not very good at it, but I enjoy watching it. So all that. So if anyone is interested in those things like level designing, modding, speedrunning, then there's plenty of room for them in the Doombringer Discord. We already have a few maps, people who make maps, but it's mostly the multiplayer side, of course, since that is what is available right now.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. I also want to thank my sister for helping me with motion capture for the enemies and players.
She couldn't seem any less interested. She's busy.
She smiled.
Hi, sister.
I think she's drawing.
We love you.
She's using up my alcoholic markers. Okay.
All right, Kristus. You're invited on anytime in the future that you have any news to share or anything. If you just want to chat, like you need somebody to talk to, I'm here. You don't even have to do it on the podcast. I'll just talk to you. Doesn't matter. So I really appreciate it.
Looking forward to that. It's been great. It's been great talking to you. I really enjoy the podcast and all you're doing as well.
Man, thank you.
Been watching your tournaments and stuff. Watched I think it was open. It was Open Arena.
Whoa!
On,
sick.
On Monsoon.
Yeah.
You were playing at the same server. That was pretty cool, I thought.
Yeah, dude. Hopefully this podcast will garner some more in my community to play Doombringer, and we'll have North American Doombringer tournaments. But that's up to the people, not up to me. I hope so. I genuinely
perfectly understand.
Yeah. Take care, buddy.
Anyway, take care.